we're back to haunt your nightmares. Welcome to another jam-packed action edition of The End of the Night. I am David Lee Madison, your host, of course, and now the Lord of Time and Space. And this right here next to me is my lovely co-host, producer, and the brilliant mind behind everything Indie Escape Network, Mr. Joe Ridgely. Joe, how are you this evening?
I am spectacular. Thank you for asking. I actually took a little 3-day weekend, so this is the end of it, but it's so worth it.
Now, did you fall into a can of paint because you're starting to look a little bit like Santa in the beard area? And the reason I'm saying this is because everybody tonight who was watching our lovely program here, I want you all to take a moment and wish producer extraordinaire, the man behind the Indie Escape Network, and really just the guy who holds the glue that holds all of these shows together, and just a wonderful, wonderful man, Mr. Joe Ridgely's birthday tonight. So everybody, please take a moment and wish the lovely and talented Mr. Ridgely a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Joe.
Thank you.
We all love you very much, and we're very happy that you made another birthday, because the odds were 50-50.
I greatly appreciate that, everyone. I can, yes, definitely appreciate that. Yeah, and another rotation around the sun. Not a milestone, only 47. So, but with the beard and everything, I make up for that in age. It's like the whole Just for Men thing. They're like out of stock with all this craziness with the eggs and everything else. So, we'll see what happens.
People don't realize how many eggs go into one batch of Just for Men.
You know, it's funny though. My wife, actually, a friend of hers at work gave us a dozen fresh eggs because her chickens are overproducing right now. Mm-hmm. And I've yet to taste it, but my wife and daughter tried them, and they're saying that it's the best thing in the world. There is no comparison from store-bought eggs to
it's a farm
the actual
fresh eggs. Yeah,
yes.
There's a place called the Lone Bull up in Lake George, New York, that every time I go up to Lake George, I have to have breakfast at this place because they tout farm fresh eggs. And the difference between a farm fresh egg and even an Eggland's Best, which is one of the more expensive eggs that you could buy in a grocery store, it's night and day. They don't taste anything alike.
Well, you see, I told my wife, like, hey, let's do something that we do up north. Let's make some pork roll, egg and cheese. And she's like, you're not putting fresh egg on a pork roll, egg and cheese sandwich, jackass. I'm like, all right, whatever.
She's like, don't make me beat you.
Exactly. So.
So did you have any big birthday plans?
It was just kind of like a relaxing weekend, which is exactly what I needed. It was perfect.
Awesome. So I got to watch the new show. Is it the Sticky Microphone? Do I have the right name?
It is the Sticky Microphone.
The Sticky Microphone, which was our dear friend Wendy's new show. It was on Thursday night. It was a very, very, very solid first outing. I laughed, I cried, I even jizzed a little. It was quite
Well, it's funny that you should mention that, because you know what? They're going to be back this Thursday, and they're going to have two guests. They're going to have director, actor, and writer Tony Martin, and
Okay.
actor Lawrence R. Harvey, which you may recognize him from some of the Human Centipede films.
Yeah, no, I recognize that dude. That's a scare. I can't
I've
believe
never,
that's.
I never had the balls to watch the Human Centipede series. I don't know. It's just,
Well, it's literally like where Clerks got ass to mouth from, apparently. So,
yeah, I just couldn't do it.
so I did a horror con in New Jersey yesterday in a town called Sayreville. I was out there with some dear writer friends of mine and Brian O'Halloran. And I tell you, for a first time show, the show every cent went to a heart center and a lung center. Brian told me it was a national thing. I thought it was a local thing, but it's a national heart and lung charity. And they had it in a VFW hall, but it was a really big space.
I saw
And
pictures. It looked absolutely amazing.
Joe, I couldn't believe it. No exaggeration. It was only a 6 hour show, but they must have had 2,000 people show up. It was like
Nice.
absolutely packed. And Brian literally, his hand must be cramped because he was nonstop. Clerks 3, everybody loves Clerks 3. And that's his stomping grounds right there. And it was literally only probably within an hour of where the quick stop was. So it was just a love fest.
So,
And
how soon do you think it's going to be before Brian gets a rubber stamp for his name and then just signs
I
afterwards?
think he's going to need one soon because the poor bastard is just signing and signing. It was just an amazing, amazing show. So I want to thank those gentlemen who had Brian and I out. I want to thank Frank Edler, who's a wonderful author who's been on this show, who arranged for me and Brian to be out there, and Daniel Volpe, a great friend of our show, who's been on the show, a great writer too. We just had a wonderful, wonderful time. It was all aces. I'm probably the only sap who's excited. I got a new pack of Elvis cards.
Wait a
So
minute. I'm sorry. Bring that up again. Is that from the wax card guy?
no, 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 no. The repack wax. No,
Yes.
this is actually repack wax is he takes cards that are old and then repacks them. This is actually a 45-year-old pack that's never been opened.
Does it have gum in it?
Uh,
Yeah, it looks like from
yeah, you could feel
the
it.
back of it. It looks like it has some kind of gum.
If you see a little bit of it, whoop, I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah. No, is there
There's a
a
little right here. You feel the line.
right? Is there a gum advertisement on the side you're seeing?
Yeah, this one.
There you go.
Super Bubble, America's favorite bubble gum.
America's hardest, nastiest, lasts for 2 seconds flavor bubblegum. Yes.
And this was distributed by Dunruss Company, Memphis, Tennessee. Nice.
And does it say a year on it by chance?
1979.
Wow.
I actually bought myself. Oh, I got it upside down. I actually bought myself 2 packs of Elvis cards. Which I'm
That's
excited
cool.
And everybody who's our age will remember these. Do you remember
Yeah.
Donkey Kong cards?
Wow. That's total nostalgia right there.
You could. You know what's funny, Joe? I wonder if I win the big contest in the Donkey Kong cards, if they're going to honor it in 2023. Hey, dudes, you owe me an Atari 2600.
Imagine what an Atari 2600 sealed right now is worth, though.
No, it's probably. You know what's the craziest thing? I didn't know this, and I have literally hundreds of them. But apparently, sealed VHS tapes are worth ridiculous amounts of money. The original Ghostbusters sealed is like $2,500. The
Wow.
original Halloween sealed is close to $5,000. So there are some really, really, really hot VHS tapes, and if you have them sealed somewhere, you can either try and sell them or just make sure that you keep them safe.
So help me out with this. So Halloween was what, 1978, 1979?
78 was the first one.
78.
Mhm.
Were VCRs available then?
Not really. It was originally Betamax, and then VHS
Okay.
became much more
Sony
popular in the
Betamax,
90s.
and then
But we're talking about, just because the film came out in 78, we're talking about the 1981 VHS.
well, that's what I was
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to get at is
Right.
when did the actual VHS come out for that? So it would be the very first release.
Yeah, and there were VHS machines, household VHS machines in the 1970s, but they were literally for rich people. They were cost prohibitive. They were about $4,800 each.
I remember our first VCR maybe in 80, 81. It was a JVC top loader.
Yeah,
and it
right.
had it had a remote that was on a cable,
Mhm.
and so yeah, that
Yeah,
was
we paid $599 for our Betamax in 1978. And when you think about $599 in 1978 money, it's probably closer to $2,500 in 2023 money in all reality. So, I mean,
wow.
back then you were able to buy a nice car for about $3,000. So, if you're buying a home video machine for $600, it's literally like a third of what a car would cost. So, put that into perspective today.
Put into perspective, your whole movie collection can now fit on one of these.
Yeah, it's pretty horrifying. And I'm not a big streaming guy either. All right, let's stop with our stupidity. Tell us a little bit about that wonderful company that your beautiful wife and daughter have cooking, because I'm super excited to get to hear about what's cooking. I know you got some new stuff going on.
We do, and thank you. And that's Hearts of the Mystic Folk. You can find their wax scented wax melts and their wickless candles, room sprays, and they have so much other cool stuff going on right now. It's amazing. They've been going to these farmers markets and they're just blowing up with fans and repeat customers. And we appreciate everybody on the network also that has bought from them. But yes, please check out Hearts of the Mystic Folk.
No, you could become a billionaire and sell eggs.
Ah,
Do you know when
yes.
the gemstones are going to come in? My daughter was saying something that she read something about gemstones, and that literally made her squeal because she is a gemstone nut.
You meant I have it written down too because you said there was like a rose onyx or something that she was interested
Rose
in.
quartz.
Quartz. I'm sorry. Yes, rose quartz. So
Yeah.
I have that written down. So as soon as anything comes in, I'm shooting it her way.
You're the man, because she'll be like all over that like white on rice. With that being said, let's bring in our brother from another mother. We're cohort in crime, our dear friend, Miss Grunkle. He's lovingly called Grunkle Scott Schiaffo on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, Grunkle Scott Schiaffo.
The most handsome bastard on the screen.
The most handsome son of a bitch on the screen.
You crazy as hell.
The eyes don't lie, brother. That's what we hear. You the man. I'm just a squirrel trying to get in.
Scott, I personally don't know what he's talking about at all, but yeah. Anyway,
I held off my birthday wishes for when we got on the air because we were talking earlier. I don't want you to think I forgot it was your birthday. So happy birthday, brother!
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Scott is not the type of guy who would forget somebody's birthday. So
no, he's not at all.
Wait, I'm not the type of guy that would what?
Would forget somebody's birthday.
Oh, no. I hit you off on Facebook today, I believe.
You did. You absolutely did. Thank you.
So we're actually really glad that we can finally take Joe out to drink now that he's 21. It's really a fantastic development. So Scott, I heard you were watching the Grammys a little bit. What's going on in the Grammy world? And you know what's so funny? And I don't mean to sound like the typical grouchy old man, but I was looking at the list of Grammy nominees this year, and I was like, who the fuck are these people? I had no clue who, like, when I say 95%, I'm being generous. I'm like 98% of those folks. I had no fucking clue. I couldn't.
So is it rap artists or what is, I haven't been paying attention. So please enlighten me. And
I have no idea. Like I don't have the list in front of me. I'm just saying that when I read the list of people who was on there, I was just like, who are these people? Hi, Michael. I hope you're well in Florida. What were you going to, did you know any of these people, Scott?
Some. No, I mean, I'm not necessarily familiar with a lot of the newer acts myself, but I think I'm a fan of Trevor Noah. I like him, and he did a really fine job hosting.
Is it over already?
It's still going on. I think it's still like 11:30. I mean, there were some legacy artists, as they're called now, Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson and these types. And then the memoriam was, like I was saying earlier before we went on the air, that always gets to me because the older we get, a lot of the people that me being a musician first and foremost, a lot of the people I grew up with that were really a big part of my childhood, when they pass, it really hurts and it's strange. You don't kind of see it coming. And then all of a sudden you see the memoriam and like, I'm crying like a little girl, but it's kind of a bummer to watch a lot of the greats pass slowly. And our guest in the pre-show there, as we were getting our sound check, mentioned something that I completely forgot, which is Julian Sands has been missing for weeks. And I totally forgot that until she just brought that up. What a fine actor, but that's not looking good either.
Yeah, no, I think there's only so long the human body could go without food, unless he's an amazing survivalist. Let's hope for the best. That's the
Well, that's
case.
what they're saying he was. I mean,
Right.
he was an avid hiker and everything. So yes,
Yeah,
fingers.
but I get it. But 65 is a number that you slow down a little bit, and well, I'm not going to put any bad karma. I hope everything works out for the best. Ken says the first performance was by Bad Bunny. Who the fuck is that? I thought Bad Bunny was Bugs Bunny, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, no, to put some things into perspective about how things changed so greatly, Bad Bunny is like one of the most downloaded, streamed artists of the past year. That's how bonkers it is when you're you become out of touch. I mean, I'm the first to admit I'm way out of touch with what's considered top 20, top 40. I don't know anymore. I haven't followed that in a long time. But I try to just be supportive and love all music because I love music, So
No, I hear you, and it's funny because especially over like the last 3 years, my favorite artist, is anybody who knows me, is my pal Huey Lewis. Of course, I've loved him since I was a kid, but everybody knows I'm a huge Tom Petty fan. I'm a huge Stone Temple Pilot fan, and I'm a huge Van Halen fan. And the fact that I will never hear real new music from any one of those three sources again blows my mind. I mean, especially Stone Temple Pilots. I mean, Whelan was only, I think, 50 years old.
Was he that old? I didn't think he was that old. I thought he was younger than that when he.
No,
passed.
I think he went in 2019 at 50 because I would be 49 in 2019, and he was a year or two older than me, so he was either 50 or 51. And I mean, even Tom Petty was relatively young, and so was Eddie. And just to know that there's never going to be another Tom Petty or Van Halen or Stone Temple Pilot. I know it sounds funny to put Stone Temple Pilots with those two guys. I get it. But for me, that Core album came out when I was 21 years old in college, and I really, really dug Weiland. I thought he was a lyrical genius. I think it's one of the most underrated bands in history. And it just blows my mind that I'll never hear that again. Another thing.
I'm sorry. I have to say, I feel the same way about INXS for my generation.
Yeah.
So I dug INXS. And when we lost him, it was just like, what?
Yeah, no, I get it. Another thing that really has got me pissed off to high hell is that they just released the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees again.
Oh, don't get us started.
The fact that my man Huey keeps getting overlooked when these are actually true statistics. He has outsold 72% of the people who are current members. He's had more hits than 66% of the current members. He was nominated for an Oscar, which not many of the members are. And he was influential to people like Dave Grohl, Garth Brooks, who put him in his Working for a Living. I mean, the list of his influential...
I'm sorry, the Ghostbusters soundtrack?
Oh, apparently he influenced that a little too heavily. So, I mean, the fact that, like, Duran Duran and Cyndi Lauper are in front of Huey Lewis, who came up with greats like Nick Lowe and Dave Edmunds, and is just literally like a rock and roll god, really just makes me batshit crazy. Scott, how do you feel that way, or do you think he's not deserving?
Oh, I agree he's deserving, but the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is run by the Illuminati of rock and roll, which is Jan Werner from Rolling Stone. And if you've ever, in any way, shape, or form, crossed him, you're not getting nominated. I mean, there's a lot of acts that deserve to be.
It's money in politics, right?
I mean, I don't want to see now. I got to watch myself because that might not be 100% true, but there's like a million cases where they're making it more about. I mean, it stopped being about rock and roll quite a while ago. I mean, they should to call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not making any sense now. It's really the contemporary music Hall of Fame because now it's all genres are being recognized.
Or the Pop Music Hall of Fame.
Well, even it has to be even broader than that. It has to be contemporary music because you've got hip hop artists in there.
Well, pop music covers anything that's popular.
Or just the Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah, what's kind of really, really upsets me that some people is Mellencamp in there? I mean, he's got to be, right?
I'm not sure, completely sure. I think he may be in by now.
I'm thinking he was in a few years ago, but I would have to definitely double check.
The great Warren Zevon's not in.
Well, Warren Zevon is great and absolutely fantastic, but I don't know if the commercial success is really there.
No, but at the same time, for 30, 40 years, there's probably not a FM radio station that didn't play Werewolves of London.
Right. And they came back in The Color of Money,
But the hall's definitely not necessarily about the commercial success either.
No, I know it's about.
There's one-hit wonders that are in there, aren't there?
Well, there's plenty of people who didn't have what. Another thing too is for us to really have this discussion, we do, and I don't know myself, but we do have to look at what their criteria really is because there is. I know there's like a 20-year thing. You have to be an active act for at least 20 or more years.
Yeah, you have to have started. You have to start 20 years ago. Have your first album release at least 20 years ago.
So you have to have 20 years under your belt as a recording and gigging entity.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that don't necessarily have that you think have that.
No. All right, we're chatting way too much, and and we have a wonderful guest tonight.
Yeah, Gabe is saying, "Hey, did you know?"
Yeah, no, Gabe, I'm sorry. We got on a roll, and anybody who watches this show, we're feeble middle-aged men who just start babbling at the mouth. And I know people
Oh my God, it's my birthday, and I'm included to the feeble old men club. Jesus,
everybody who's watching,
man, I'm like, come on now with this old man. You guys realize I've got a lot of years on both of you. I'm looking down the barrel of 60. How would you like that? You wonder why I paint my face.
With that being said, let's welcome the wonderfully talented, the beautiful, extremely gifted actress, Genoveva Rossi, to our show tonight. Genoveva, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being on the show. I've known all of you for like a while. I just want to say, David, your microphone, you're a little harder to hear than the other two guys.
Oh, my apologies. Maybe I need to talk closer, but then my head looks giant.
We're used to giant head, Dave.
Giant
head, perhaps. Yeah. They have smaller heads, so maybe that's the difference. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
Cool. So how are you? How have you been?
Oh, now you sound a little bit better. Things are pretty good. Keeping myself busy, still doing horror movies, but I'm branching out into some other genres. I'm going to be working on with Christian Grillo soon. I was in a sci-fi movie with him years ago called Apocalypse Kiss with Tom Atkins and some cool people. And now we're doing something completely different. We're doing a children's series with puppets. I'll be playing a human being, but I'll be interacting with puppets in that.
Like a Sherry Lewis kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think it's very inspired by The Muppet Show. So we're going to be working on that. It's going to be a YouTube children's series. So I'm excited about that. He's already shot, I think, 2 episodes. And so I'm working on that. And then I'm working on an upcoming thing called, Silent Romance 2. It's a romantic comedy. It's sci-fi with time travel. So we're going to be shooting that in Brooklyn probably in the spring, if not before. And then what else? I have some horror stuff coming up. I just shot The Bloody Nun a little while ago, which sounds pretty interesting. So I'm looking forward to that coming out. And another thing I shot a while ago, which was very different for me, was I was in William DeMeo from Sopranos series, Graves End. It's a mob series that takes place in 1980s Brooklyn. And season 1 is available on Tubi and on Amazon Prime currently. It's only 4 episodes because of the pandemic interrupted what they were working on. And then they resumed season 2, which I'm in. And then they'll be working on season 2. I think it'll be coming out in the spring. And then season 3, they'll probably start shooting pretty soon. I actually have a scene with Fran Drescher, my mom's like favorite actress. So that was kind of weird how that worked out.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Now, wait a minute. Ironically enough, we spoke last week, if everybody remembers, of the movie Hollywood Nights, where Fran Drescher kind of began.
Oh, wow. I love Fran Drescher. You know, it's a great movie with her, UHF, Weird Al Yankovic.
Al Yankovic, yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
love that movie. Like anybody I date has to watch that movie with me. Best movie. It's so bad it's good, you know.
Wasn't she in? She was also in Married to the Mob. Like, wasn't she one of the housewives? For lack of a better term, there was like a group of 3 women that were all married to the mob that Michelle Pfeiffer didn't really fit in with. Wasn't Fran Drescher one of them?
Maybe.
You may be right, but I don't think I ever saw that movie, but I heard of it.
Matthew Modine.
I like Michelle Pfeiffer a lot too. I think I heard of it, but I don't think I ever saw it. But I know the name. I know the name. Married to the Mob. It sounds like a fun movie. I actually should watch that. What is it, like a spoof of mob movies?
Yeah, no, it's a comedy. It's done really well, and there's a ton of great. It's an East Coast movie, so there's a lot of actors you'll know. You know, there's a lot.
So it's like a comedic mob movie, kind of like Steve Martin's My Blue Heaven or something like that.
Oh, I love that. So many people are not aware of that.
I love Steve Martin. He's great too.
It's funny because Steve Martin seems to be having a revival right now. He was kind of out of the picture for a while there, but now he seems to be.
Well, he's got that smoking successful series right now
with Martin Short.
And
oh
Selena
yeah,
Gomez.
that's right. What do they call it? Murder in the Museum or something like that?
Murder's Only in the Building.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
And they've got.
I have not seen it, but it's getting a lot of hype.
Oh gosh, who's the?
Selena Gomez.
There you go. So they've got like a lot multi-generational covered.
Now, Genoveva, I've been friends with you for almost a decade now, and there's some things I was curious about. Who, as a young girl, who inspired you to become involved in films? What? Because I know you do everything from direct to write to star in films, and I'm very impressed in some of your work that you've done. And I'm curious, like, who lit that fire in your soul to do this?
Well, that's a good question. I was both inspired by male actors and female actresses. Like one of my favorite actresses that I luckily met as a child before she passed on was Ingrid Pitt, who I loved in The Vampire Lovers and Countess Dracula's, which are pretty erotic and fun movies. She was a beautiful woman. I love Barbara Steele, who I'm friends with on Facebook. She always inspired me. And when I was a kid, my father, being so old school with horror movies, introduced me to Vincent Price. He liked these old Vincent Price movies because he felt like they were kind of PG for like little kids to watch. There wasn't really any nudity or swearing or extreme violence. So when I was a little kid, I was allowed to watch those. So I always got really into horror movies as a kid. And my father was, again, like a big fan of that. So I think those are some of the people that really inspired me the most. So it almost seems like I've inspired people from like the 60s and 70s. If you follow me on Instagram, a lot of my style and a lot of my retro stuff that I have in my apartment comes from the 60s and 70s. I really like that era.
Well, no, that was really cool. Were you a big fan of the Dr. Phibes movies?
Oh, yeah, exactly right. Those are great movies. And then the film I directed, I wrote and star in, Attack of the Killer Chickens, the movie, really pays homage to like the sci-fi horror movies, probably of the 60s and 70s and 80s, like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Kingdom of the Spiders, Night of the Living Dead. It's very inspired by like all these kind of crazy campy movies. Another big movie that inspired Attack of the Killer Chickens was Pink Flamingos from John Waters.
Wow.
yeah. So if you watch it, it actually played at the Nyack Film Festival, and there was a beautiful gay couple there who were huge John Waters fans, and they were like, oh my goodness, we see pink flamingos in this, like so many references that are kind of hidden in here. And we love John Waters, and we love Pink Flamingos and Mondo Trasho and Female Trouble and everything. So, and I'm a big John Waters fan, and I think almost subconsciously I put these John Waters references in, you know? So.
Nice. Hey, Dave, you mind if I hit a couple of these comments real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so my friend, Gabe is saying my friends saw Martin and Selena
in New York City when they were filming season 1. He was talking about Steve Martin and Selena Gomez.
This is what happens when you wear contacts that are like 10 years old.
Hi, Terry. I hope you're well. Hey, Joe, can I ask you a question now that I saw Terry's name? Is Terry's feature film out yet? Is it still in the pre-production?
Terry's film is out on DVD on his website, blackdogfilms.com. It was available at one point on Vimeo. I think it was shut down. They're waiting for distribution now on all the streaming networks.
But after the show, I can go on his website and buy a copy of his film?
Correct.
Sweet. I can't wait to see that. Terry, congratulations. I'm very proud of your achievement. That's awesome.
It's a great accomplishment to finish your film and get it out there. So congrats.
Yep.
Yes.
With that being said, Genevieve, I've seen you have over 115 titles to your name already as an actress. You're a young, beautiful woman who has another numerous years to work in the industry. Up until this point, who is the most interesting person you've worked with?
Who's the most interesting person I've worked with?
Yes.
Oh, that's a good question.
If you say Edward X. Young, I'm leaving.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to say that. Who's the most interesting person I've worked with? That's really hard to say. But I'm going to say one of the more recent people I worked with that I find really fascinating and talented, although I don't really know him that well, is William DeMeo, because he's working on Gravesend. And here's this guy, and it's a really big production. It's really high quality. It's a TV show. It has all these big stars like Chaz Palminteri and William Forsythe and all these huge people. And you have this gentleman. He's the writer. He's the director. He's the star. And, involved in so much of the business aspect. So I just thought it was just amazing that somebody can wear so many hats and do it so successfully,
No, that's absolutely awesome.
Absolutely, it's rare to see somebody that's good at all these things.
I'd be happy if I was good at one of them.
Exactly. No,
wait a minute.
It's true. Exactly.
I got a question. Did I see or did I misread? You worked with Lloyd Kaufman on something?
Oh, Lloyd and I actually have worked together on quite a few films over the years, including one of my first films we were in together called I Spill Your Guts. We were in that together. And then a bunch of other movies. I'm in one trauma movie called Shakespeare's Shitstorm. I have like a cameo. And then he pops up actually in my film, Attack of the Killer Chickens, the movie. He really wanted to be in it because he was a fan of the short film that preceded it. And then one of my favorite films I'm in with Lloyd is Apocalypse Kiss, which is a sci-fi thriller. You can watch it on Tubi for free. I play a pregnant hippie. I give birth in the movie. I'm 9 months pregnant, so it's kind of a different role for me. And Lloyd Kaufman plays the president. So it's like a dramatic role for Lloyd. And it actually really showcases his acting ability, because we usually see him in cheesy roles, but he was very good as the president in this serious role. So I think Lloyd and I have been in, as actors, we've been in at least 10 movies together.
Wow.
Now, Apocalypse Kiss, if I recall correctly, was a Christian Jude Grillo film again. The gentleman
exactly right. Christian Jude Grillo, who I'll be working on that children's series with. We did that years ago. That was a really fun SAG film. We filmed that in Philadelphia. You got DC Douglas as the star, who's known as the primary voice of Resident Evil. He's Wexler. And then Tom Atkins, who I've always been a really big fan of. I love Tom Atkins. In fact, I just saw him at Chiller when I was a guest. I'll always remember the Sunday at Chiller. It was Tom Atkins, Lance from Salem's Lot, who just passed on, God rest his soul, and I were all eating rigatoni and vodka sauce together at the bar at Chiller, Who knew that Lance would have left us, So, God bless Lance. I hope he's in a better place,
Now, I think Michael Berryman was in that film too.
Yeah, Michael Berryman was also in it. You're right. Michael Berryman was also in Apocalypse Kiss. I'm trying to think. Tom Atkins, D.C. Douglas, Lloyd Kaufman, myself, and really like a whole bunch of really notable people. Carmela Hazlitt was in it. Tammy Jean. Trying to remember all the names. I hate to leave anybody out, but there was actually a really huge cast of people. And they actually built these beautiful sets in an old warehouse in Philadelphia because it's a sci-fi thriller. It takes place 50 years into the future. It's actually a really cool movie. It's had various distribution over the years where it's been on Redbox, it's been on Netflix, it's been on YouTube, it's been Amazon Prime. But right now it's on Tubi, so you can actually watch it for free with commercials, which is the really cool thing about Tubi. And that's why a lot of films are making the shift to Tubi. Tubi seems like a very popular platform these days. So you could watch Apocalypse Kiss on there. It's one of my favorite movies to rewatch because I'm a big fan of the sci-fi genre.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, it was. I remember when Christian was working on that film, and he had some really epic footage in that film. It looked like it was a much bigger budget than it was, and it was just a really cool flick. You guys did a great job.
Exactly right. I remember, honestly, Christian is so organized. I remember getting my script 6 months before we shot and knowing what day I was going to shoot like 6 months before we shot, believe it or not, which like never happens that someone's that organized. And I know for my scenes, he had like a 3-camera setup with big, beautiful cameras on tripods and everything. Beautiful sets. And I remember the costume designer, I don't remember his name, but I know he had worked on the theatrical production of Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
So he really had this amazing group of talented people on so many different levels.
No, that was fantastic. Here's a question that might take you a moment to consider, but if you could have played any character in the history of film or television, who would you have chosen to be? Who do you think fits your wheelhouse that you would have been a perfect fit for that particular character performance?
So if I could have played any character in film history?
Or television history.
Or television history. Oh, wow. That's a very difficult question, but it's also a good question because you know what, David? No one's ever asked me anything like that. That's a good question. You know what TV show I really like and I would have loved to have been a character on?
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been on in years, but I was just telling somebody about it. True Blood.
Oh, True Blood, okay.
Yeah, to have been one of the lead characters in True Blood. That was such a great series. In fact, I plan on rewatching it because I haven't seen it in quite a few years. Because it's horror, but it's also very sensual and sexy, but also really interesting with all these different supernatural characters and everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Clerks connection to that, believe it or not, because the cinematographer who did a majority of that show is David Klein, who shot Clerks, Mallrats, and Chasing Amy.
Oh, wow.
That's
It's amazing
cool.
how like everything's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, like we're all interconnected, you know?
It's true. It's really crazy, right?
You know,
It's true. The whole entertainment industry is so like that. Like when I started out as an actress, it's like amazing that I've worked with so many of the people I've seen as guests at conventions when I was a kid or seen on TV. Like who would have thought I'd be working with Fran Drescher? I was literally at the height of the pandemic when I was stuck home. I was watching old episodes of The Nanny to kind of cheer me up and a whole bunch of other old TV shows. And who would have thought like a couple months later I'd be working with that person, you know? It's funny how like everything, destiny, everything's interconnected, you know?
You know, it's so funny that you should bring it up because these two gentlemen had to live through the pandemic with me because we were doing the shows when the pandemic was right through its heart. And for some bizarre reason, every night, like a mental patient, I stayed up and watched the Waltons for the entire 14 months. And these poor bastards had to sit through every show of me reminiscing what happened on the Waltons night before.
Oh, no, wait a minute. We even had to have guests from the Waltons on here.
Yes, we had.
I could see how you'd want to watch that show. I could see how that, because that's kind of like a very peaceful show.
Yeah, it was like funny. I'd go to bed after a day of being locked in and watching. If you remember, the news was literally just like a bummer every day with the crazy president we had and all the shit that was going on. And it was funny because I lay in bed and the Hallmark Channel would put on the Waltons, and it was literally like you would be able to transplant yourself back to 1942 to a simpler time. And now as a guy, I realized that that was kind of a real wimpy thing I was doing. But I apologize to my audience multiple times for.
Well, it's very calming sometimes to watch like old TV shows, and especially things from another time. I was watching The Nanny. I watched Who's the Boss. I watched Good Times during the pandemic. That's a really fun show from the 70s. I like that show. And I was watching The Jeffersons, which I love, and All in the Family. I was watching like all these old TV shows, and mostly comedies, because I wanted to cheer myself up, you know?
No, there's some kind of major impact that those classic TV shows have. Like I went out to dinner maybe about 9 months ago with Tim Busfield. And I look at Tim Busfield as just another middle-aged schmuck like me. We sit there and you talk about baseball and stupid shit and we laugh and have a good time. But he's married to fucking Half Pint. So like we're at dinner and I'm talking to Tim and I keep looking at his wife, who's Melissa Gilbert, and I'm like, fucking Half Pint sitting right there. This is so awesome. And you don't know what to talk to Half Pint about because like what hasn't she seen or done, really? And it's just like the impact that these shows we had on us growing up is absolutely mind-boggling how important they are to some people, and especially shows like Little House on the Prairie. There are people who watch that show, it's like religion to them.
But
I heard
is
they had
that
a
like
big
one of the
resurgence of that show in the pandemic, Little House on the Prairie. A lot of people were watching it.
Yep.
So, Dave, was that like one of the first shows before like The Love Boat that had all these all-star cameos in it?
What, the Little House on the Prairie?
Yeah.
You know, those all-star cameos, believe it or not, were quite by accident, because a lot of those all-star cameos were those people's first appearances. It was that Michael Landon had such an amazing eye for talent that he booked Jason Bateman on his first appearance. Peter Billingsley from A Christmas Story. I can't think of the one from 90210. What's that chick's name? She was sick with cancer.
Oh, Sharon Doherty.
Sharon Doherty, yeah. The list of people whose first things was Little House on the Prairie is absolutely mind-boggling. But it's so funny because that's one of those shows that really stands the test of time. You can watch it in 2023, and it still has a human element to this day that makes that show watchable. It's really, really wild. So
that is a really good show, and I think Michael Landon was just a captivating actor.
Oh God, I would have that's one actor who I've never had the opportunity. He passed away when I was really young, and I could have picked that man's brain for hours. When you look at his career, everything from starting off in B horror movies to I Was a Teenage Werewolf, to doing
I Was a Teenage Werewolf. Yeah.
Do you guys realize that Bonanza is the TV show with the most episodes in television history? I didn't know that.
Oh wow!
It's not Gunsmoke?
I thought, no, it's Bonanza. I thought it was going to be something like 60 Minutes or 2020.
Which one had Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood was on a TV show?
Yeah, didn't he start off on a TV show?
He definitely was on Gunsmoke.
Was he on The Rifleman?
I thought he started.
I think Chuck Connors.
Oh, that was Branded too, right?
Branded. What would you do if you're branded? But you know you're a man. Sorry, I shouldn't know that. I'm only 47.
Yes, and you don't have a DVD player?
Well, no, I know him. Chuck Connors is, for me, Werewolf more than Branded.
Janos Scorsese.
I love old TV from like before my time, personally, and old movies too. Like my mom and I love to watch Alfred Hitchcock movies.
There you go. And like college dorm rooms, you're up in the middle of the night. It was like Nick at Night was the thing to do. Car 54, Where Are You? Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, and the Twilight Zone, brother.
Yeah.
The Honeymooners.
All these shows on Nick at Night. So it just brought a whole new audience to it.
But if you notice, there are now literally hundreds of channels that play nothing but the old shit now, like MeTV and Antenna TV. And so it seems like there's always going to be a market for that wonderful stuff of yesteryear.
Yeah, some of these old shows never go away. Know what show I was just saying to my brother was like really like foreshadowed all of our technology, believe it or not, was the Jetsons.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because they had like telehealth with your doctor, right?
Yeah.
They had like classes online.
Yeah.
They
iPads.
they had Zoom meetings. They had like all this stuff. They had like microwaves.
Okay, but wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Like hurting his finger from pressing too many buttons. Like
there's more.
tunnel.
Our robot vacuum is named Rosie.
Oh yeah, exactly right. And people have robot vacuums now. Exactly right. Yeah, you're right. There you go.
Now, if you watch that show, it kind of blows your mind about how much stuff they were right on. Ken's saying he still watches Emergency. Who didn't love Emergency, man? Randolph Mantooth and.
Oh, I never saw that. That's interesting. I'm not familiar with that show at all.
Oh, Station 51. Scott, these guys don't know Emergency.
Mm.
Hey, I was born in
It's
77.
sad that I know them because I was around for that stuff.
You saw it first.
Yeah, I never even heard of it. Interesting. I'll have to look that up online.
Emergency and The Odd Couple with Klugman and Tony Randall.
Oh,
Well,
gosh.
The Odd Couple was great. I
Grammar
remember that.
school, in early high school.
One of the funniest shows ever. So, Genoveva, tell us a little bit about where you see yourself 10 years from now.
Oh my goodness, 10 years from now, what will I be doing?
Where would you like? Where would you like? What would you like that to be?
Where would I like to be in 10 years? What I'd like to see myself still acting, still evolving as an actress, hopefully doing some more directing and writing, and branching over, I think, into more genres. I love horror, but I really like doing drama and comedy, maybe doing some more mob series, maybe doing maybe some more theater. So I did some theater a while ago, maybe doing some more of that. Kind of branching out into different areas and trying to keep myself busy and challenged.
No, you know what's great about you, honestly, is that you are super articulate. You put the time and work in to do something that's not run of the mill, and that's and when you're in the indie horror field, that seems to be not very. It's not every day that you see people put that much effort and work into it, and including myself. I'm a schmuck. I turn the camera on. I tell Scott and Brian to do something, and they laugh at me, and I turn the camera off because I'm pretty much a schmuck.
It's a fun genre, and then I'll give a little shout out. Attack of the Killer Chickens, the movie, is available on Amazon, Vimeo, and Troma Now currently. It's a feature film, just so everybody knows.
No,
it's a crazy movie. It might end up being the craziest movie anyone's ever seen.
So I have to ask a question, if I may. How'd you get mixed up with the crazy cats over at 100 Acres of Hell?
Oh, 100 Acres of Hell. How did that work out? I think they ended up reaching out to me and having me come out and do like this crazy cameo where I'm on the cover of this magazine called Backwoods Beaver. And that's, been a kind of a crazy thing because it's a lot of people like to get the autograph, but I'm a little embarrassed when people think it was a real magazine. It was not a real magazine. There's never been a magazine, and I wouldn't be in it called Backwoods Beaver Magazine. It's just like a joke, and not everybody really gets that it's a joke. People really think it's like a real magazine or something like that, which, again, I wouldn't be in like a Backwoods Beaver magazine. But it's like a kind of like a provocative picture. I'm on the cover of the magazine, and that's one of my most popular picture that people get autographed when I'm a guest at conventions like Chiller and stuff. Yeah.
From the magazine picture. That's awesome.
That sounds like Ed McKeever, Backwoods Beaver.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I've been in real magazines, but not like that. Like the real magazines I've been in is like, like these different modeling magazines where maybe you're in a bikini or you're a lingerie model, and they just have all these different girls, page after page, very tastefully done, where everybody's just wearing a bikini or lingerie, or cosplay. I've been in some cosplay magazines and stuff too.
Now, if there's any performer or director or producer alive today that you haven't worked with yet, who would you choose is like your dream person to work with?
I would say there's two directors that I would really love to work with that I haven't worked with in the horror genre. That would be Dario Argento and Rob Zombie. But then in a mainstream way, I would obviously love to work with like somebody like Martin Scorsese, Like that would be just like, wow, then you could just be like, you could hang up your acting hat and be like, I did it. I've arrived, That's like quite an accomplishment to work with somebody like that.
But we also would accepted David Madison or David Lee Madison.
Oh, of course, I would love to work with you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
See how good of an
Always.
actress she is? She can lie through her teeth and make it convincing.
No, for sure. But I was just thinking like the people I that are like Dario Argento. Is
the people that she idolizes, Dave,
Yeah,
not
the
you.
people who actually have talent.
Well, because like I was thinking about people that like that I've loved since I was like a child, and I didn't know Dave when I was a child.
This thing.
Because that really imprints on you. I think the directors and the films you watched as a child.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
imprints on you. And I think it stays with you your whole life, really. Like your favorite actors, your favorite directors.
You know what's so funny?
From when you're like a little tiny kid.
My two favorite movies are Fright Night and It's a Wonderful Life. And every movie I make is literally Fright Night and It's a Wonderful Life combined. So it's kind of a horrifying thing.
Yeah, there you go. Because that imprinted in you in your childhood, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. It's amazing what imprints on you when you're a child.
Yeah, and I think music is even more, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. I think music, well, I'm a musician before I was an actor, and music is my first passion. And that really goes deep. You know what I was thinking? I just want to quickly say something. David, you that question about 10 years, like 10 years is a blink of an eye, it almost seems. Like I know you more than 10 years. And it seems like 10 years is not, the older you get, 10 years is I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but it's really, it just seems that at a certain
I think
point,
what you're trying to say is that we knew each other for over a decade and we're in the same shitty place we were 10 years ago, is what you're trying to say.
Oh, by the way, David, I love Mr. Hush. That's a great movie.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody out there likes it.
And wait a minute, I think David and Scott first appeared on the program almost 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, 10 years goes by really fast.
10 years is a blink, man. I mean, I start thinking about a lot of different markers in my life, and 10 years is like a blink. It really is.
Well, I look at it this way. I mean, in 10 years, I've made 5 movies. So I look at it, it seems like, I don't know, each one of them kind of had a life of their own. So it's kind of...
Well, that's a lot to get done in 10 years, though. That's good.
Yeah, like every 2 years, I make one of those bad boys.
Good.
I mean, it was... That wasn't uncommon back in the heyday of Hollywood. I mean, you put a lot of time and effort into a film, shooting, editing and post-production. And, now we live in a world where, technology makes it a lot easier. And, people shoot something on their phone and it's on YouTube in a week.
Yes, and has 10 million views, which is kind of horrifying.
And
With
shot
that being-
in better definition than anything we've shot before.
With that being said, Genoveva, where can people find you to follow you on social media?
They can find me, Genoveva Rossi, on Instagram. They could find me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. What else am I? Oh, and I just joined TikTok recently. So find me on TikTok because I don't have that many TikTok followers.
I want to, Genoveva, thank you for being a friend of mine. Thank you for agreeing to be on the show in a moment's notice when I asked you. I'm a big fan of your work. I will continue to be a big fan of your work. And anytime you want to come on the Indie Escape Network or David Lee Madison's End of the Night, just give us a toot. We'll be happy to have you on to promote anything. Again, thank you, Genoveva, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, and I'm a big fan of all your work. So thank you very much. It's an honor to be on the show. God bless.
Absolutely our pleasure. Thank you, Genoveva Rossi.
Thank you.
Good night. What an awesome guest.
She was a sweetheart.
She's been in the indie industry for years, so that's what makes it even more special.
Yeah, she's kind of like Tiffany Shepis, but with talent.
Whoa! Wow!
I'm going to send that to Tiffany.
Joe, I have to ask: is there like a what is in front of your shirt that keeps obstructing the
My
logo?
mic?
Is that what that is?
Yes.
It looks like something like a.
Yeah, because it's pitch black. It looks like it doesn't exist.
Yes.
It looks like you almost have like a black thing just blocking out something, like when they want to take a logo from a T-shirt, but they don't want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of like one of these.
You have something
things, yeah.
obscuring the logo for sure. It's weird.
No, yeah, it's the mic. Unfortunately, we could thank.
Now, am I low tonight, or is it because Genoveva had no earphones on it? I said.
I'm thinking it's the earphones, earbuds. Okay. I could hear you okay.
Yeah,
I'm more concerned about the black phallic symbol covering my.
No, you can't see the. It literally looked more like a square.
Okay.
Like you had almost like a black square in front of you.
Cat sighting.
That's in my pee. That's in my pee.
You're the pee.
That's in my pee. Pepe
Le Pew.
Yes.
We're not allowed to say that anymore, apparently. We're not allowed to watch those cartoons anymore, apparently.
Oh, Pepe Le Pew was canceled?
Yeah, he's a rapist.
What do I have to do to get canceled?
It's ridiculous.
I've tried everything possible.
I got a haircut, and I'm still looking to get canceled.
You know what? I think you actually have to be on the air to finally be canceled, and that's pretty much that's none of us, pal.
Canceled. Hey, what? But people come back. People come back. Some scary people come back. Is Kevin Spacey coming back?
I don't know. I don't think he's coming back now.
Is Will Smith coming back?
You know what's so?
I think he'll be back. I think that he's going to be back.
I feel terrible for everybody who was involved in that enormous budget movie that just was released. Was it Emancipation or something? It was called?
Yeah, it was like a slave movie.
And it looked like it was like one of those big epic films that people put shitloads
it didn't
of
get
time
the
into.
attention it was supposed to.
And
It got negative attention.
It got totally shit. I mean, if they made 5 cents on the dollar on that movie, I'd be surprised. And how much it sucks? Like if you're one of the executive producers, one of the schmucks who laid out the money, that's probably it's probably a $200 million movie. Let's be honest. And to put out the money on that movie and then have your fucking schlub idiot star go up.
All right, so we're not going to mention that movie. So if that happened in another scenario situation, could the executive producer sue?
I don't think
Sue him? I don't know, man, because now you're bridging into a thing where
I guess, Scott, though, if he had a conduct clause in his contract that he signed with that film, for that particular film, because when you're talking about films where you're paying somebody $25-30 million, there should be a clause within them.
we need to do a show talking about how do you separate the art from the artist, because this has been happening forever. Gary Glitter was a sick guy, but his records still get played and whatever.
Who's that famous director who was stripping little girls? And
well, be careful with that because everybody gets that wrong. Polanski was not a monster.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't. You have to really do your homework on that one. He's all right. Well, again, that's a whole show in itself. But I love Roman Polanski, and I mean how do you come back from your wife getting butchered by the Manson clan?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that allows him to do stupid things either, but
right.
There's a lot to everything, but when somebody's blatantly just what Will Smith did was really insane. That was insane.
That was kooky. Now, Scott, you have next weekend. We're not going to be on the air because, of course, it's Super Bowl weekend, and who's going to watch us schmucks while the Super Bowl is on? And the weekend after that, you're going to be in Pensacola, correct?
I'm not sure if I got the math right on that now. I think the Pensacola weekend is in the 20s somewhere, 24, 25, 26.
Yeah, 24th, 25th, and 26th. Next weekend is the 12th, and then is the 19th. So
it is the following weekend. It's 3 weekends away.
Well, no, 4. Well, 1, 2, 3. No, you're right. We're on the 5th right now. Next Sunday is the 12th, and then the 19th. You're going the 24th, 25th, and 26th. Okay. So you have 2 more weeks.
So do we want to do a show on the 19th, gentlemen?
Which is after the Super Bowl, right?
Correct.
Yes, the week after.
Well, I'm not a sports guy anyway, but whatever you want to do, you let me know.
When's the Oscars?
Oh, you want to do
I forgot
about
the
Oscar night?
When is the Oscars?
One of them is going to be I think I actually thought the Oscars were tonight. I got them confused with the Grammys.
No, you actually know the people at the Oscars. What were you going to say, Joe?
I was going to say I would kind of like JW and Rich to join on a Oscar night if possible, but I don't know when it is.
Sure, we'll play it by ear. We'll have
Okay.
an Oscar
we
night
do
show.
that? Didn't we have an Oscar night last year, or like some kind of Oscar show for the Oscars?
We've had a couple.
Yeah. I'm burnt. Forget.
The
Oscars are March
the
12th.
first one was very interesting.
Ken's saying the Oscars is March 12th. I always thought they were February.
March 12th, really? That far out?
Well,
All right.
Oh, so we have to worry about it this month then.
with
No,
that
no.
being said, I want to thank Genoveva Rossi for joining us tonight. She's absolutely fantastic actress, super talented. Make sure you go out and check out all her work. Scott, is there anything that you need to say before we say goodnight?
No, I'm good. Thank you, everybody, for the support as always. Be kind to one another. Definitely, please try to be kind to one another. And like Rachel Ray says, I'll see you when I see you. And that's starting to stick in my head.
And Joe, we have a whole bunch of cool stuff coming up on the Indie Escape Network. Anything you want to shout out to especially?
Yeah, please. Tuesday night, we have Gabe on, and he's going to have the cast and crew of a Savannah Horror. After that, we're going to have the Bondathon with JW and Rich. I think this is the 5th of 6 weeks of them doing Bond. And then we have the Sticky Microphone with special guest director, actor, and writer Tony Martin and actor Lawrence R. Harvey. So please stay tuned this week. And if you haven't already, go to David Lee Madison's The End of the Night on Facebook, hit the like and subscribe button. And please kindly do the same with us on the Indie Escape Network on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. We would greatly appreciate it.
All right. Love you, brothers. Thank you for doing another show with me. And with that being said, remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Good night, everybody.